It's a cacophony of chaos and crisis that's presented to us, and yet, it's simply not true. And I can prove it to you, I believe. Have you ever seen a headline that said, "A dog bit a man today"? Of course not. Dogs bite people all the time. But let one guy bite a single dog and it's on Channel 6. That's because news, by its very nature, is odd. It's the extraordinary, it's the rare. So long as the news is bad, it's logical to assume that things are going along really well. That's how a positive paranoid starts his day.
I was absolutely convinced I was going to die. I was literally facing the last few moments of my life. It only lasted 45 seconds, but 45 seconds of sheer terror can change your life forever. Mr. Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. I was on a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Knoxville, Tennessee on a small commuter plane. See, at one time I had a job that kept me on the road 21 out of 30 days in a month. I spent more time looking out the window of an airplane than I did looking out the window of my own home. So this flight was no different than any of the hundreds of others that I had been on before. I was seated in 15B, and we had been in the air about an hour without any warning whatsoever. The plane began to shake violently. Within seconds, you could tell we were nose down and plummeting towards Earth. People began to scream and cry.
Even my friend Gary didn't make it out. He was killed in a car accident when we were juniors in high school. All of those milestones of my life, all those landmarks that we measure our progress through those years were gone. They had vanished. And it felt to me as if large parts of me had vanished as well. I was becoming invisible. And then I realized it's not really the places we find ourselves or the faces that we meet in those places. It's the lessons that we learn. It's the experiences we have with those people. It's the culmination of all these things that
couch, listening to my favorite Wayne Dyer affirmations. I believe that love is forgiving. And I believe that love is forgiving. I believe that Wayne stopped speaking. I walked over to my CD player and someone had jammed at least 7 Crayola crayons into it. Ben! Daddy! I'm sorry, Daddy! Sorry? That doesn't fix my CD player. I've told you 1,000 times to stay out of my things. Can't you please just keep out of this room? Now, where was I? I believe that love is forgiving. That came from here, and it didn't fix anything. So, I went to my daughter's room, and this time, it came from here. Baby, look, I'm sorry about before. I can get the CD player fixed. When I was a kid, I did the same thing to my father's 8-track. I forgive you. Okay, but Daddy, you gotta give me a magic kiss. So, I gave her 2 of them, and we both felt better. Who do you need to forgive? What hours do you need to heal? So many of us have stopped believing in magic, but baby, she's had me go through that whole ooh gosh now Bilaka routine 256 times. It works. Every time her skin breaks, every time her toys break, and every time her heart breaks. But I knew it wasn't magic.
Luckily, a couple of weeks earlier, I picked up a book called In the Line of Fire by Jerry Weissman. Weissman's an executive coach in Silicon Valley. He specializes in helping CEOs with the presentations they'll use to take their companies public. He also helps them with the question and answer period that follows. As Weissman says, the answers to the questions in those Q&A sessions can sometimes shift the initial value of a company by millions of
Says, I
dollars.
am who I am, and I apologize to no one. Lou says, enjoy your audience. Now, sadly, there are millions of people in the world who will never know his joy. They are called non-Toastmasters. He loves performing in front of an audience. The more people, the better. He was into television shows. He's a celebrity. Whether he is splashing around, giving his characteristic greeting, thank you, Lou, or just being generally cute, you can tell by the looks on the faces of his audience how much they appreciate him and he appreciates them. What an incredible privilege it is to have a friendship like this with a wild animal. I hope I have done his ideas justice. I always try to keep Lou happy. You never want to make a 6,000-pound friend angry with you. Lou says, I am who I am. I apologize to no one, and that's just fine with me. Will you help me? May I go back and tell him that his ideas will live far beyond the park where he resides? Will you repeat his mantra after I say it? I am who I am, and I apologize to no one.
I am who I am, and I apologize to no one.
To see the two dogs chasing the blue and gold macaw out from the patio. I hollered, they broke off the chase. I quickly scooped up the bird, looked him over. He appeared fine, but within 30 seconds, he looked up at me, lowered his head, and died. At that very moment of thinking, I knew who I was. I became so angry, so irate. I ran after those dogs and I yelled, look at what you've done! I hated them at that moment. And then I took socks, I went inside and I sat down and cried. It wasn't their fault.
So we're all done? So we have two more trophies. I guess we're not done. So we'll move to the International Speech Competition. The winner of tonight, moving on to the next level. So first we'll start with second place. Please, Dennis Woolbridge.
Maybe.
And the last trophy tonight goes to Toastmaster Andrew Greenstein.
You made me.
Thank you.
Magic
In the middle.
Good job.
I just want to say this is the first time that I've ever been in a contest that my wife told me she didn't think I won. And I didn't either. Everybody did a fantastic job. That was the toughest contest I've ever been in.